What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the GameFreak. Today we are going to do a almost year overview on the Hyper Megatech Super Pockets. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what the Super Pockets are, if you're new to the channel and you don't know anything about the whole Evercade ecosystem, what the Super Pockets are is they are handhelds that are pretty small. Um, well, these things came out in November of 2023, so it's almost been a year with these. And we're going to start out with, I have two of them, and this is the Tato or Taito. A lot of people pronounce it one way or the other. So, this Tato edition, this has 18 built-in games. Now, I'm not going to go through all 18 games, but I can give you like a, you know, quick description. Like Bubble Bobble is in there, Kadash, um, Elevator Action, Growl, uh, Operation Wolf, Roston, Space Invaders, games like that. Legend of Cage. It does have like a bigger variety of games than the Capcom, which has, how many does this have? 12. This has 12 games built in, and this has like more popular games I think that people know as like Street Fighter 2, Strider, Wolf of the Battlefield Mercs, which is a awesome game. 1942, 43, games like that. Bionic Commando, Captain Commando, Final Fight, Ghouls and Ghosts, Mega Man, like pretty popular games. I'm not saying like these Tato games aren't popular, but I think that out of the two, the Capcom has the more popular games. And honestly, I think that it has the better library. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is the price point on these things. Now, if you are new to like finding out about what the Evercade is and you're new to getting into the Evercade ecosystem, I think these are fantastic when it comes to the price point because these things will only run you about 60 bucks. And the really cool thing about these things are, even if you don't own like an Evercade VS, which is the home console, or the Evercade EXP, which is the bigger portable device, these things, even though they do have built-in game library, they do play, if I can get these out, your Evercade carts. And the cool thing about these, they come with a dummy cart like this, so it keeps the dust and all that grime and stuff out of there, so it keeps it clean. So really cool thing about that, a cool little feature, I should say. The next thing that we are going to talk about, because I did bring up the Evercade EXP, is the battery life on these. Now, surprisingly, the battery life on these little devices honestly last probably more than twice as long as they do on my EXP. I think I've only, in the year, almost year that I've had these, I think I've only charged them up maybe 5 times. I mean, they last that long, but I also don't sit and play these things for hours because they are small, and a lot of people complain about that, about the size of these things, but they're called super pockets for a reason. They're small. I got big hands, so I kind of swallow these things, so I can't play them for like too long, otherwise my hands just start cramping up. But they uh they do have like a good picture and stuff on them. And speaking of picture, we'll talk about the screen here. The screen, as you can see, is not like real big or anything. It's not tiny, but it's not real big. So I wear prescription glasses, so when I play something this small, I do wear my glasses. I'm not gonna lie, I don't want to sit there and squint while I'm playing something, but it's not a big deal. That's the reason they are called super pockets. They're small devices. They're supposed to be small. So the next thing we're gonna talk about is The D-pad and the buttons. Here, we'll use this because the Capcom, that's all blue and everything, and it kind of blends in the buttons and the D-pad. But the Tato don't, or Taito, whatever. Um, the D-pad, I don't think is horrible on this thing. It's not the greatest, but it gets the job done. The buttons, they're nice, but again, if you have big hands, they're small. So everything is kind of close together. Now, if there is a negative, I will say about the D pad and the buttons is you can not remap the buttons on these devices like you can on the uh, EXP or the VS with the controllers. You cannot do it. So some of these games get a little bit frustrating for me anyway because I'm pretty sure a lot of these controls are mapped the way a lot of Xbox games are, and I'm not a fan of Xbox. I don't hate Xbox. I just prefer PlayStation. But on these, a lot of these games, like B is to jump instead of A, and that just it doesn't feel right to me. Like even when I'm playing games like on the EXP or VS, I remap the buttons constantly because I like to have this button right here, the A button to jump. I like to attack with the X button. I really don't use this B button much. So I do remap the buttons line. And it's unfortunate that they didn't put that feature on these super pockets. So that was kind of a bummer. The next thing we're going to talk about is this is like the elephant in the room. As much as I do enjoy these things, these shoulder buttons on the back are absolutely horrible. They're just placed horribly, and just the way they're built in, they're just flat against the back. So I really don't recommend playing any game on these things that require the shoulder buttons. When it comes to games like Cathedral or Always Awakening, I don't even put that cart in here. In fact, when it comes to Cathedral and Always Awakening, I can't play Cathedral at all on either of these two because of you have to do a firmware update because originally Cathedral would not work on these. So you pretty much have to hook these things up to your computer or laptop and do a firmware update. And I'm not into doing stuff like that. I don't like hooking anything up to my computer because I just don't trust like all the viruses and shit out there. I'm sure it's safe. I'm sure it's safe, but I don't know. I'm kind of anal because I've lost a lot of like PCs and laptops because of stuff like that, and I just don't want to take that chance. So not really a big deal to me. I don't play Cathedral or Always Awakening on here. I play it on my Evercade EXP just fine. It's not a big deal at all. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the sound on these things. For how small these things are, this little speaker right here is super loud. They're pretty loud little devices. So I don't really recommend having the volume up all the way. That's totally up to you. You do have an option to hook in some headphones if you want. I think you get a better sound that way. But that's totally up to you. But these are the two Super Pockets that I own as of today. There are two more coming out in October next month of 2024, and that is the Technos and the Atari Super Pockets. And I'm pretty sure that Atari has like, I don't know, like 50 games on it or something like that. Pretty crazy. I forget how many games the Technos has on it, but it has a pretty fair amount of games, and just like these, you can play your Evercade carts. So overall, do I still recommend these things? um, I do, even though I can honestly say I really don't play mine much. And the reason that I don't play mine much, it's not because I do not like these things. I don't think they suck or anything like that. Is the reason is because, right behind me, back here, I built that Freecade for a reason. So I'm more of a, when it comes to the Evercade, I like the arcade style games, and I even play a lot of the games that aren't arcade style on my Freecade. And these handhelds, they're good if you want to just go like sit in a living room and you're not like near your games or anything, and you can sit and play a handheld or whatever. Or if you travel. Well, the thing is, when I travel, I'm not really going places where I'm going to stay that often. So I rarely take these things with me anywhere. I think the last place that I took these were when I went to go visit my boy when he graduated Navy boot camp. But other than that, I really don't take these anywhere. They don't get a whole lot of gameplay from me personally. I mean, I think I played the hell out of them for maybe the first 6 months, and then it kind of died down. But if you are thinking of getting into the Evercade ecosystem, I do believe that these are a good first step, just for the price point alone, $60. And if you're like a Xbox fan or something like that, then you'll probably like the already button mapping on this, just the way it's set up. You'll probably not have a problem with it. But if you're more of a Sony guy like me and want to remap these buttons, you just can't do it, and you just have to kind of deal with it, which I did. I dealt with it, but hey, it is what it is. I mean, $60, I'm not going to complain too much, but not bad little devices if you're just stepping into the Evercade ecosystem. So, all in all, great little products, man. I don't feel like I was ripped off on these things at all. I enjoy them a lot. You know, with anything, there's always a few negatives, and that button mapping is the big negative for me personally when it comes to these things. I knew they were going to come small because of the name, so I knew that my hands were going to start cramping when playing. So that wasn't a surprise to me. I knew the screens weren't going to be real big again because of the name. So what do you expect when it says Super Pocket? They're going to be small. So, all in all, great little products, great way to get into the Evercade ecosystem. So, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps out this channel a lot, and I greatly appreciate it. And until the next video, game on, everybody.